Anticipation. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Thursday, May 9th, 2024, and everybody in sports, in all sports, is anticipating this coming Saturday because the Pittsburgh Pirates, the organization that everybody talks about, one of the most successful organizations in the history of baseball, has told you that they are going to call up Paul Skenes. Who? Well, if you have no idea who that is, let me help you. Paul Skenes was a top pick in the draft. He is Sid Finch reincarnated. He is 7'7". He throws the ball 140 miles an hour. Nobody gets on base. Nobody can score against him. He's got 4 pitches that are above average. He has the ability to be the greatest pitcher in the history of the world. He's going to win the Rookie of the Year, win the Cy Young. Everybody was furious with the Pirates to not break camp with Skenes, who has barely a minute in the minor leagues. He was part of a recent draft, very recent, like 2023. Now, he was a college pitcher. He was part of LSU, fantastic in college, world champions, that's funny. Little League, that's funnier, Little League champions. The College World Series, gets drafted. The Pirates have him, and then they figure out how to develop him. So I wanted to talk about the anticipation that you have as a fan when someone's drafted for your team versus the anticipation that a front office has when they draft somebody and their view is when that player is going to help them. When Skenes is drafted by Pittsburgh as a college junior, we have different thoughts about college juniors as we do about high school seniors. And those are the 2 times when players get drafted. When a high school senior gets drafted, you're generally told 3 to 5 years. Check with us then. Sometimes there are exceptions, of course, on both sides of the standard deviation bell curve. Players don't make it, or players can make it faster. But when a college junior is chosen, that often happens when the owner says, I want someone way closer to the big leagues who can help us right now. When we drafted college juniors, we still would put them in the minor leagues. We found that college juniors had less upside than high school seniors in terms of overall career projection. Once in a while, there's a college pitcher, a Steven Strasburg type, who will come in and be a difference maker quickly, then get hurt and sign a huge deal and never pitch and retire. But Paul Skenes apparently is the latest, greatest example of what scouts say. This guy is a generational talent. It is my least favorite expression in baseball, in all sports, because I don't understand how generations in scouts' minds last 12 months and not 10 years. But a generational talent, and he's going to come in, he's going to combine with their other rookie, Jared Jones, who, by the way, was a high school draft pick in the COVID year. So this is all making sense to you now since we're in 2024, 3 to 5 years. Didn't even plan that, Coca, and that just happens to be the case. So the Pirates now will have this rotation of 2 amazing rookies. What does it mean? What does it do to their over-under? What does it do to their likelihood of being in the postseason? What does it do? And my answer is nothing. Now, do I think I disagree with him being called up? Let me give you the dates. We're in May 9th right now. His first day of service will be May 11th. He will be around the team this weekend, but will be activated before the game. That's when a corresponding roster move will be made. There's no reason to activate a guy earlier than he's going to play because you're paying him at the major league rate. So you activate him the last possible moment. His service time starts now. And if he has continuous service, which means he either performs or gets hurt while at the big league level, he will be eligible for arbitration in what we call a Super 2. No, he won't. He's being called up now on purpose because he will not hit arbitration until after 2 years. They have found a way to delay it, correctly so, smartly so, financially prudently so that he will be a minimum player for this season, 2 more, 3 more. I'm having a moment, Coca. Here's the moment I'm having. He's going to play all of 2024. Do this with me, everybody. I know we're live, but just stay with me. He's going to play all but 40 days of this year. He will not be a Super 2. Super 2 is, let's say, 2 plus 150. He will not get 150 days of service time because he's been in the minor leagues for more than 30 days, 35 days this season. So the reason for the date, it's exactly what was in my head. I don't know why I couldn't say it. Maybe because it's Thursday. He will be eligible for arbitration a year later than he would have been had he been called up earlier in the season. Now, some of you may be saying, but David, he can get a full year of service because I know the new rules with the CBA. So the Pirates may be screwed anyway, and then he'll get a full year of service and be eligible in 3 years. But in order to do that, you have to finish toward the top of Rookie of the Year. Win Rookie of the Year, Cy Young if he gets votes, like third in the Cy Young. None of that will happen for this pitcher being called up, especially given the fact that Paul Skenes is not even, I don't know what he is. He shouldn't be more than plus over 1,000 to win Rookie of the Year because he's with Jones, his teammate. How about Shota, the pitcher we talked about yesterday on the Cubs? How about Yamamoto? So for me, Skenes, he's 10 to 1. 10 to 1. What is that? So is that a plus? What is the math of that, Coca? He's plus 1,000. That's funny. Can I take a victory lap for having an idea of what he would be, given the fact that he's not going to win Rookie of the Year because he's coming up May 9th, as opposed to Yamamoto, who's been here all year, and Shota, who probably are the two favorites. I assume Yamamoto is still the favorite, the betting favorite, and then Shota second. Is that the order? Or is Shota now the favorite over Yamamoto? Shota's been so good. That's the order? Shota, Yamamoto, Jones? Okay. So why am I interested, and why do I lead off the show with the anticipation of Paul Skenes? It's because I want you to realize how much harder it is to pitch in the big leagues than it is to pitch in college or to AAA. He's making the AAA players look like they're not professional. He rolled through college, rolled through the minor league system. Major league hitters hit velocity. While his fastball, you're going to get wowed. He's a radar guy, 102 miles an hour, which is why I call him Sid Finch. All the other things about Paul Skenes that make him fun and exciting, they don't necessarily translate to the big leagues. It doesn't mean that he will not have a fantastic start on Saturday against the Cubbies. It just means that don't expect him to come in as an immediate ace. It is so rare for it to happen. And my view is that velocity is not what makes someone an ace early. And this is the view shared by most scouts in baseball. It's something called pitchability. Pitchability involves command. Pitchability involves the selection of pitches. Pitchability involves what you have going on in your brain and in your heart rate when you are on the mound. And there is no way to know that until you are doing it. And I don't mean doing it at the minor league level. So I'm going to watch it start like everybody else will, but I just want to temper your expectations, temper your anticipation, and say that Carly Simon nailed it. Paul Skenes is going to be a Pirate. I'm going to give you a wait to see that is going to make some of you unhappy on this issue. But Paul Skenes has an ERA of like 0.99. He's just been unhittable at AAA. Wait to see at the end of the year when you look at Skenes' ERA, it's going to have a 3 handle. Make that an official wait to see. And that still could mean a great rookie year. But I don't think we're talking about historic. Paul Skenes, end of the season, will have a 3 handle. You know who won't be watching Paul Skenes' debut? Ippei Mizuhara. Ippei Mizuhara is back in the news, the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani. And I am pretty flabbergasted with what has taken place and the speed in which this has taken place. It turns out that Mizuhara is going to do what we told you he would do. He is going to plead guilty. He's going to plead guilty. There are multiple reports that he's going to plead guilty to 2 charges. 1 count of bank fraud, 1 count of a false tax return. People are telling you because they read it. I love when non-lawyers, and I'm not flexing because I'm a lawyer. I just enjoy, it's like when I first got into sports, reading the scouting report, it might as well be in French until you learn the vocabulary and learn what people are doing, how they're writing. If you've never read a plea agreement, you look for what you consider to be the highlight, the most interesting or controversial or lascivious part of any agreement is what's the sentence going to be? Let's talk turkey. How long will Ippei be behind bars? So what you're hearing people say is, well, the plea agreement says that he could serve 30 years just for the bank fraud, and then another 3 for the tax return issue, Wesley Snipes. So you're looking at 33 years. This guy will be in his 60s when he gets out. Well, when he is sentenced, I assure you he will not be getting 33 years in prison. What you are hearing is what the maximum, that is how things are presented when you have a guilty plea. The maximum incarceration for this crime will be blank. The reason I don't think Mizuhara is going to be in for 33 years is I believe that he is not agreeing to plead guilty without knowing exactly what his sentence is going to be. And just out of curiosity, would you plead guilty to something if the sentence were going to be the same as if you went to trial and got convicted? When if you go to trial and for whatever reason you're not convicted, you get 0. A guilty plea generally comes with a deal for a lighter sentence than what the maximum that could be imposed through the course of a jury trial. And the reason that the state or the U.S., federal or state, would make a deal like that is the expense of and the time of having a case go all the way through a jury trial. The reason the speed surprises me is that I measured Japanese culture. I measured the strength of MLB, the desire of MLB. I measured how much MLB wants this to go away with an interpreter who shouldn't have any loyalty to MLB, has unbelievable loyalty to Ohtani, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But at the end of the day, we're now talking about a father, a husband, a son, and agreeing quickly, oh, yeah, I did that. I'm going to plead guilty to it, and I'm willing to go away for 30 years. It's just not going to happen that way. But then I started balancing the conversation that I've had with many people since this happened about Japanese culture. I tried to have it on a recent show when we were talking about this topic. Ippei has brought shame upon Shohei. Mizuhara has brought shame upon Ohtani. The best way for the shame to go away is for this to not be in the news anymore. And the way to stop it from being in the news is to tourniquet the issue, plead guilty, and that's the end of it. Then the only next time it's in the news is when he's sentenced, and then the next time when he's released, and that's the end of it. And maybe by the time he's released, Shohei would not even be playing anymore. MLB got news of this because they're kept in touch, even though it's supposed to be totally confidential and no one's supposed to know. Believe me, people within the DOI of MLB are very aware of any proceedings that are going on involving anything around their sport. MLB is very quietly doing a Snoopy dance right now because they get to end the Ohtani investigation, which Rob Manfred, meeting the AP editors just a couple days ago, we're taking our time. No reason to rush. Let's see what happens here with the federal investigations. That's code word for as soon as that is done, the federal case, then we can swoop in. We can declare him completely as victim. No betting, no knowledge, no nothing. That's the outcome MLB needed for Ohtani, and that is now the outcome they're going to get for Ohtani. The problem is journalists, fans, anyone is trying to figure out internally. You're having the argument left shoulder, right shoulder. Something doesn't smell right here. It's not that Ohtani didn't know 16 million was missing. Part of the plea agreement is he's got to pay Ohtani back. Good luck with that, Shohei. What doesn't smell right is the relationship between Shohei and Ippei and how it is possible that Ippei would have this level of control and then this level of betting and gambling, and Shohei would have no idea. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Real Housewives notwithstanding. If you know, you know. Check it in the article. There's a Real Housewives connection to this story. It's not even worth discussing. Except I will. One of the go-betweens with the bookie was, I believe, one of the husbands of a Real Housewife of Orange County. That's funny, but not relevant entirely. Some other things came out in the agreement, Coca. Shohei had to pay for Ippei's dental work, but then Ippei pretended, I guess, he had dental work. How do you pretend? I guess fake root canal. 60 grand? What are you getting, veneers in your roots? Even that's not 60 grand, although I don't know that. Let me call Ugla and see what his veneers were. Love you, Dan. They're not 60 grand. How does that work when your best friend asks you for money and then more money? Hey, what's that for? Nah, I'm not even going to ask you anymore because I've got all of your bank information and I'm going to pretend I'm you. The whole thing has a smell issue. And when baseball has a smell issue, they give everybody COVID. They end it. They don't give you anything else to smell. So look for the next step after the plea is entered on May 14th. Look for baseball to wait what they think is a reasonable amount of time for there to be no questions by journalists or people in the media or fans. Oh, they took their time after this. They really investigated it. Look for them to come out and say, Shohei, no way you knew anything. You're good. That will be the result. And no more is going to come out. That's what's even more amazing about it. It's all about soul. It's all about Billy Joel's song, All About Soul. That would be playing during the Knicks run in the 90s, 94 finals. They played at the Garden. It's the same organist, I think, who still plays the same when they're playing defense. Dun, 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 dun. And I don't think that's it, but it's something like that. I was watching the Knicks game because the Knicks were our pick of the day. And I was watching Brunson not play the most of the first and all the second. I'm watching the Pacers take a big lead, and I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for something to happen, which is going to really piss off Rick Carlisle. Because as sure as day follows night, the Knicks needed to hold serve on their home court. They need to be up 2-0 because they need to play the Celtics in the next round. Sorry, Donovan Mitchell. Now, have you noticed, Coca, other shows now talking about things that were going on because the NBA wants the Knicks to advance? Well, we've been doing that for way longer, but I'm not going to brag about it. So the Knicks took a 2-0 lead last night. Rick Carlisle got ejected. He's going to get fined, Coca. I think they'll announce that today. he showed up the referees during the game, went up to Mark Davis and really got in his face and was applauding in his face sarcastically, got ejected. No suspension, just a fine. That's what I suspect will happen. New York's excited. Why wouldn't they be? Knicks up 2-0. But I really wanted to get to what else happened before that game started. The Denver Nuggets in the NBA were celebrating Nikola Jokic, who won his 3rd MVP in 4 years. And he is the best player in basketball. There is no question about it. He is the best player who looks the doofiest, but it doesn't matter. That it's not that he's smooth or silky. He's no Jamal Wilkes, no Jordan, no LeBron, but he is the best player in the NBA. There have only been 9 players in the history of the league to win the MVP 3 times. That's it. And he's now won 3 times out of 4. And when it happened, what people talk about with Jokic, not the fact that their team is down 2-0 to the T-Wolves, not the fact that Jokic likes horse racing or harness racing. People are talking about the fact that Jokic is not a true lover of what he does. He does it. It's his job. He said he's going to keep doing it until he's not great anymore, because why not? He's going to get paid a lot of money to do a job. Many of us get paid a lot of money to do a job. I've always been lucky. The money I've always gotten paid is for jobs I love doing, but plenty of people don't love their job. And I was wondering to myself, when you're on a list with LeBron and Moses Malone and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, when you're on a list of players like that, they had something in common. They were the center of the league, not just the best player. They were the center of all of what was talked about, all of the interest in the league. And Jokic is just not that. And he's never going to be that. And so when the NBA names him MVP, what they're never going to say publicly is that it would be far better for the best player in the game to be more jovial, to be more smooth, to be more interesting to watch. As a basketball lover, I do love watching him. But for mainstream people, if you go do on the street, start interviewing people, they will not have heard of Jokic. In the NBA, there's just nothing they can do about it. What I will be, who does he? I can't hear you, Coca. Yeah, that's true. Coca wants me to point out he has more personality than Mike Trout. That's like being the tallest little person. Why is that even? What does that add? Mike Trout does not have. First of all, do you know Mike Trout? I don't know Jokic. I know Trout. Trout has plenty of personality. He just has no interest in being a personality. You can have personality and not want to be a personality. And that is Trout. I don't know about Jokic. Haven't met him yet. Nothing personal pick of the day. Presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code Samson. Because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Don't forget to download the app. Code Samson. We had the Knicks 4.5 over the Pacers. I called Coca. And I said, that's it. We're losing. But we didn't. The Knicks covered. That's a win. And yesterday we had the Astros beating the Yankees. Rodon went 6+. Stanton hit a bomb. Where's all the people calling for Stanton to be released? This is not in the show, Coca, but just give me 1 minute on this. Yes, it's personal with me and Giancarlo because I love him so much. But why? Why is it that baseball media and is it because the media just needs stuff to talk about every day, so they just make up hot takes as though you're going to be fascinated with them? Maybe you are. Stanton's off to a slow start. Release him. Get rid of him. He's the worst. He's hitting 210. He's hitting 180. Has no power. It bothers me because it just shows that you don't know him as the player. You don't know what he does, which then I could extrapolate that that means that the people who are talking like that, they don't know anything about anything. Yet, of course, their numbers are great. Downloads, clicks, ratings. Go watch Stanton. So we had the Astros and we lost. The Astros are in trouble. We did a segment yesterday on the Astros, and I really believe that the Astros, I'm not giving up on them winning the West, but I'm just getting closer and closer. All right, let's do the nothing personal pick of the day presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Here are the picks today. We've got the Mavs playing the Thunder in a game 2. People assume it's Thunder T-Wolves for a chance to represent the Western Conference in the NBA Finals. And I say, hold on. Luka's slumping, but hold on. For Luka to get out of a slump, you shoot your way out. And the Mavs are getting 5 tonight. We are taking the Mavs +5 versus the Thunder. And don't be shocked if the Mavs win the game outright. Mavs +5 versus the Thunder. We're also going to take Sonny Gray and the Cardinals over the Brewers. Right now on DraftKings, by the way, they're running in this early win promo. If you bet any team's money line and that team goes up by 2 runs at any time, your bet just wins. Max bet limits apply, but that's an interesting promotion by DraftKings. I've got the Cards -130 over the Brew Crew. Love the Cardinals. Going to St. Louis. Nothing personal. Don't forget, tickets go on sale tomorrow for the June 25th show at City Winery in St. Louis. Can't wait to bring this show to the great fans and the people who I love in St. Louis. Sonny Gray, very quietly, is only known around these parts as someone who stinks, but then you're forgetting what he's done for teams in the Midwest where he's a performing pitcher. Why Sonny Gray, who's having another great year, got off to a late start with an injury, but only giving 130? We're taking it. Cards, Sonny Gray over the Brewers. And those are the 2 nothing personal picks of the day. When we come back, it is Thursday. That means we get to review one of my top 100 movies, and we chose it last week for review this week, Inglorious Basterds. And then we're going to talk about something that you may think is a sporting class conversation. You may think is a Le Batard conversation because it came up yesterday when I was on his show. We're going to talk about some bundling because a new bundle was announced yesterday, and it made me smile. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson coming at you live every day, 8 a.m. Thanks for telling your friends to wake up at 5 a.m. if you're on the West Coast. Why not? You're up anyway. If you're not up, you should be up. Set the alarm. Or you could watch it on DraftKings Network. Or you could download. Please do download it. And subscribe to the audio part too. We're both audio and video. Got the blue. I don't love this combination of blazer and shirt today. I don't know that it matches or looks good. It's 2 different shades of blue. This can be the downside of the way I get dressed, but I still got dressed quickly. Yeah, the blues aren't even close. I was taught, and don't dress in black and blue because you look like a bruise. And I have black sweatpants on. Inglorious Basterds. Quentin Tarantino. Brad Pitt, Melanie Laurent, Christoph Waltz. What would it have been like if Hitler had been assassinated? That's one of the points of Inglorious Basterds. People consider it a war movie. I don't view it like a Saving Private Ryan movie. It is a brilliant piece of writing and directing. It is a shockingly good performance by an actor who's become what I hope you all realize is a great actor, notwithstanding what happens to him off the screen, Brad Pitt. And if you are looking for a day, this is what I wanted to say about Inglorious Basterds. Take a day and watch 3 Tarantino movies back to back. You can go Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, Inglorious Basterds. You can go Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Inglorious Basterds. There's all sorts of different combos you can do. You can even throw True Romance in there. He wrote that with Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette. But the reason why doing a triple header one day when the weather's bad and your kids are out of the house at summer camp or at school, whatever they're doing, to be immersed in Tarantino for a period of 6 to 9 hours, you feel like you're inside his head. And in his head is a fascinating place to be. So Inglorious Basterds is number 78 on my list of all-time movies. It is a candidate to move up, but I feel like so many movies are that I don't think it will move up when I do the next rankings at the end of this year with the new movies I've seen this year. But Inglorious Basterds, watch it if you haven't. All right, the random number generator, please, Coca. We got to see what we're going to review next Thursday. Pull up the spreadsheet that was done by one of our fans and hit it. The Truman Show, number 40. Thank you. It's my favorite part of the week. It really is. I love when I get to watch one of my top 100 again. The thing is, with the Truman Show, I don't need it to be part of a review. I will review it next week, but I watched that movie. I would say I watch the Truman Show twice a year, maybe 3 times a year, maybe even quarterly. The way I get to watch all these movies is I buy a bunch of them and I have in my library, which seems strange to do. I ask myself often, why am I buying movies on Apple? And then I realize for the convenience of it, because I can have it in my library, download it, and watch it whenever I want. I spoke to my my great and lovely assistant, Beth, yesterday. We are coming on, God, it's 22 plus years that we've been working together. Started in 2002 when she was with the Marlins and I joined the Marlins. And one of the things she's just so helpful to me, to Coca, to my family, to everybody. One of the things that I asked her to do is to do an accounting of my streaming services. So we track my monthly expenses, we match it against monthly revenue, and we figure out where our losses are, where our profit is, and we count as monthly expenses all of the money I spend on kids' rent, let's say, or tuition, or whatever it is that I'm doing. You have all these different categories. So I do a pretty detailed budget, which I strongly suggest everybody does. And one of the things that we did the deep dive on was all of the streaming services, because I've got them all. The reason I have all the streaming services is that I don't want to be in a situation where there is something being talked about. It's all about FOMO. It's all about popularity and wanting to be cool and hip and wanting to be able to talk about what people are talking about. And so I want to be able to watch anything I want to watch on whatever channel it happens to be on. I cut the cord a couple years ago. I guess it's 4 years ago, maybe. And so I watch the quote unquote cable channels on Hulu Live TV. Then I've got Disney, ESPN Plus, I've got Max. Showtime just got taken away because now they're combining with somebody and it's escaping me. I think they're combining what, Coco, with Paramount. So my Showtime app, I got notification that that's no longer a thing. But yesterday, another new bundle was announced. And here's what a bundle is. It's when you buy more than one streaming service at a time and you get them all for a price that in theory is lower than if you buy them each individually. And I'm not talking about all of the interesting new things that happen when you have an AT&T phone and you get Max, when you have T-Mobile and you can get this or that, or when you get Comcast, you can have access to Disney. On the Sporting Class, we talked about all of these deals that get cut. When, for example, Bally's got removed from Comcast, it's something called the carriage dispute. A carriage dispute is when a cable company doesn't want to pay what a distributor wants to get paid to distribute its content on the platform of that cable company. The cable company pays for a channel, you pay the cable company. If you don't have cable, you want to pay the other platform. Hulu Live is the same as a cable company, or YouTube, or wherever you're watching your live TV. But then on top of that, you get what used to be called cable add-ons, where it's a basic tier and then a sports tier, and then you've got a tier above that with movie channels, etc. That's what the streaming services are. Is they're just different tiers. The theory that is being sold to you is that you're only paying for stuff you want. But with sports doing deals with all these different streaming services, the reality is that if you want to watch all sports, you're going to have to subscribe to all of the platforms, which is exactly what they want you to do. Now, leagues are to blame for this, because if basketball is going to be on Amazon and all sorts of other streaming services, football, baseball, between Apple and Amazon and Peacock, etc., then you start looking for, is there any way to get all of these together? And people confused that new announcement of the channel between Warner Brothers and ESPN and which is it? What's the new big streaming service? Fox, thank you. That is a platform like a Hulu Live. The bundled streaming services are when you can get Disney Plus and ESPN Plus together, or Hulu and Disney together. Well, now there's an opportunity to get Disney, Hulu, and Max. Now, those are different companies. So who would want Max? They've got the Bleacher Report add-on sports. They're trying to do live sports on Max. You can watch the Le Batard show on Max right now. 1 hour of the Le Batard show is on Max every day. Disney Plus, with all of the movies and the streaming of Marvel and Disney, whatever movies they have on Disney. I don't watch many movies on Disney actually anymore. Kids are too old. But then you add that with Hulu, and that is a desire to have increased number of participants in each of the individual services. When you combine them, the hope is that you will get people who were a no on Hulu, but become a yes because you can get Max and Disney too, who say, if we're going to get Disney, then I'd want to get Max as well. So you combine. So the thought is that your revenue increases, and the thought is that you can charge fewer dollars for 3 together than you would for 3 individually. However, when you add it up and when you look at the money that you're spending, what the consumer is soon to discover is that you're paying more, not less, than when it used to be the old basic tier, and then above that. All these streaming services are doing is becoming cable companies. The irony is that the talk about sports and the importance of live events. Did you see Disney? They had their earnings call. ESPN Plus subscribers down. Disney Plus up. The universe of non-sports lovers is still greater than the universe of those who want sports, which is why teams losing their cable deals and teams coming up with their own streaming services and teams thinking that they're going to replace the cable money with the streaming service dollars. My view is it's not going to happen, because getting people who don't want your product to pay for it is always going to be a greater amount of money than getting people who do want your product to pay for it and even pay a little bit more. So these individual team streaming services, these league passes, you can get MLB TV for $150 for the season, or $20 a month, whatever the case may be. If you're a fan of a team You can get all the teams for a price. You can get one of the teams in your market for a price. There is a menu available to you. Is that not reminding you of the cable menu? Is it not reminding you when you had to look at the different channels that were available on the different tiers and then decide which one you were going to do? All of the exuberance that you felt when you thought that you were now going to be in control because you only had to pay for what you wanted and you can pick or choose. We all got outsmarted by these conglomerates whose stocks we love to buy because, in theory, you're going to make money when you buy stocks unless those stocks don't go up. And then you've got terrible pressure on companies, which causes them to be sold and broken up. Paramount. What you are discovering is the freedom that you thought you had. It doesn't exist. It's just coming at you from a different angle. Another example of people in companies treating the audience as though they're fools. And I'm sorry about that, but you know that that is not what we want to do on Nothing Personal. Okay. No, can't say okay. 4869. Let's talk about the Indiana Fever. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark. Let's talk about the WNBA. Let's talk about something that came up yesterday on Levitard's show. I believe I touched on it, but I did not have time to go fully through my thoughts on this issue. The WNBA is making a very big deal out of the fact that they are going to have charter flights for their players, that they're willing to spend $25 million for everyone to fly privately. All a charter flight is when you do a deal with Delta or United, you do a deal with Alaskan Airways. It's basically your traveling secretary calls up Delta and says, "Hi, I've got to go the following 20 flights during the course of a 6-month season. I need to fly from Indiana to Charlotte, stay in Charlotte for a day, then go Charlotte to LA for 2 days, and then LA back to Indiana." That's a trip. Baseball, we had 13 trips, 26 trips, 13 trips. I believe there were between 13 and 18 flights per year. You're spending millions of dollars each team on flying privately. The hourly rate to get a Boeing 757 from Delta, let's just say it's $30,000 an hour or $40,000 an hour. So you're calculating the amount of hours, you're figuring out when you're going to fly. You cut a deal and everybody's happy. You still have to go through security, just not at the airport in front of everybody else, but you go through security on the way onto the plane. In the old days, pre 9/11, no security, everyone gets on the plane. There's still random bag checks. There's still TSA, and you've got to pay TSA to go to the private part of the airport, to go onto the tarmac where often security is. Sometimes you pay extra and you go through security at the ballpark. That was always a fun one when they set up their security table right outside the team bus in the tunnel of a ballpark when you're traveling from one road city to another. So you're grumpy because you lost a getaway day, or you're happy. There are random bag checks. You get on the bus and then you can't get off the bus because you've gone through TSA security. So then the bus takes you to the plane. You get on the plane. It is a great source of creature comfort to fly on a charter. It doesn't mean you don't have delays. It doesn't mean you're not subject to weather delays or mechanical delays. It means you get to choose your catering. It means you get the same generally set of flight attendants, different pilots though. But why am I so worked up about this WNBA announcement? And the reason is that I don't want people to mistakenly believe that the WNBA and the NBA, who approved this, are doing this because of the desire for equality with the NBA. You could argue that they're doing it because of security. You could argue they're doing it because they want the WNBA to look like it's on the same level as the NBA. The reason why this is the year that they agreed to do charter flights is that their view is there's more eyeballs on the WNBA because of Clark. There are more people who want to view the WNBA as an on-par professional league, even though they don't have the revenue to support it, even though they don't have the TV deal to support it, even though they don't have the franchise valuations to support it. It's almost like a fake it till you make it. We are going to do this so that you perceive us in a certain way. And the other tangential benefit is that the players who are now flying privately, who have wanted to fly privately, who felt as though it was a sign of disrespect to fly commercially, they now are disadvantaged when it comes to all negotiations with the league in the next collective bargaining agreement. And I touched on this with Le Batard, but of course he wouldn't want to hear more about this. But the reason why it's so important to focus on and think about is that anytime you have a chance to give during the course of an existing agreement something that is not hard to give and that will make you and your league look good as though you're giving something grand and can be used as a way to get major concessions during the next collective bargaining negotiation, you do that. Does it sound a little bit like the Nike uniform situation? Now, you're going to say, of course not, David. This is a much bigger deal. This is about security of players. It's not what it's about, I promise you. Got some breaking news just now. I don't know that I would call it breaking news, but I am interested in it. ESPN is reporting as we do the show that the Indiana Pacers have submitted 78 plays that went against them over the 2 games in New York, and they've submitted them to the league office. I love it. It's like the Pacers are the only people in the world who don't realize that the Knicks have to win this series and that the Knicks will win this series. It's like they don't want to believe it. How about this for a theory? The NBA office is more than happy to get this submission by the Pacers that every call is going against them, because then they get an opportunity to release, well, out of 78 plays submitted, 75 of them were called exactly correctly. The other 3 were in the 2-minute report, but if you look at mistakes made in the 2-minute report, there is no difference between the mistakes of Knicks Pacers games and the mistakes of Wizards Thunder games in the middle of a season. I was trying to think of another crappy team. Wizards Spurs. The NBA will take this and they will be able to release. Coca thinks they're not even going to watch the plays. They are. They're going to watch the plays because they need to release how often they were right, even if they were wrong. The NBA will do anything not to be caught doing exactly what they're doing, which is having the Knicks go forward in a year when they are going to extract billions and billions of dollars per year for their new TV deals. We have been telling you this for 2 years, and we are now watching it happen. I give them a lot of credit, though. I give the Pacers credit. I did the same thing with the Marlins. You don't want to believe things are true, that the world's working against you, but they are. And then you sit in league meetings and you look at numbers and you say, oh, yeah, we do want the Knicks there. You think that the Pacers care? They should care. They will care once the series is over. But for now, they feel like they're getting slighted. Just you wait till the calls go against you as a home team in Indianapolis. That's when you're going to really lose your mind. You'll call the NBA and they'll say, hey, it's just business. See you later. We'll be back tomorrow. This is nothing personal.